Face-Off from 1997. Remember this movie? I'd like to be able to say it's a classic, but I don't think that would be a normal thing to say. A human being wouldn't say that. Because if it's been a while since you watched this movie, you might remember it pretty fondly. When I was a kid, I thought it was great. I thought it was a really cool action movie. And it kind of is, but it's also, I don't know if insane is the right word. Insane might be underselling it. Obviously, it's a movie where two guys switch faces and take over each other's lives. All right, insane. But what's even crazier is that the movie thinks it has like this emotional depth to it. Like, it thinks it's really tugging at your heartstrings. And I think that might truly be the most insane thing about it. Like, if all it was just this B movie concept with tons of action and humor, and it was a little bit more self aware and knew what it was, that would be fine. But the fact that it tries to get deep, like the idea that people are going to be watching this in the movie theater with tears running down their face, I mean, maybe tears of laughter, but that's about it. It's a movie that I think falls into the category of so bad it's good. And I hope you're ready to examine that with me, because here we go. Face Off from 1997, directed by Johnwoo, starring John Travolta and Nicolas Cage. The movie opens up with a character named Sean Archer. Yeah, that's the name we're going with. He's played by John Travolta, and he's with his son on a carousel. And he kind of rubs his hand over his son's face. And get used to that shit, because that is going to be happening a lot in this movie. The Sean Archer character will gently brush his hand over the face of pretty much every character in this movie. It could have just as easily been called face brush. And in the distance, Nicolas Cage's character shows up, and his name is Castor Troy. Again, that's the name of a human being, apparently. And he takes aim with a sniper rifle at Sean Archer, and he fires. He hits Archer in the back, but the bullet goes right through him and kills Archer's son. Somehow Archer is able to crawl over to his son's body. I'm not sure a person can do that when they've been shot through the back and the chest, but apparently it missed his heart, so he's just fine. And Archer's son is dead. The movie opens up with a child's death, which is, I mean, okay. And Archer is clearly alive. So Castor Troy could just shoot him again and stop this whole movie from happening, but he doesn't. Then it jumps to 6 years later. Archer is leading some kind of covert FBI anti-terrorist team centered in Los Angeles. They are on the hunt for Castor Troy, who is currently setting up some kind of bomb in an unknown location. And he's wearing a priest's outfit for some unearthly reason. And on his way out, he sees a Catholic choir and decides to shake his ass around, as you do, with his giant Friar Tuck crucifix bouncing around. I mean, you would think that a terrorist for hire would, try to keep a low profile, but not Castor Troy. He's twerking in priest robes right now in full view of everyone in this place. It's madness. And he stands behind one of the choir singers and says something about how this is fucking boring. And he touches her ass and makes this face when he does it. Average priest behavior, apparently. No one questions it. And Archer and his team figure out that Troy is about to get on a private plane and flee the country. And they know this because Castor Troy's brother apparently paid for the plane in cash, and he gave out his real name, I guess, which by the way is Pollux Troy. I mean, what the fuck, man? Castor Troy, Pollux Troy, These are either the names of new Star Wars characters or they're the names of antibiotic-resistant venereal diseases. These are not human being names. And obviously, Pollux is an idiot because he's a wanted criminal going around telling everybody that his name is Pollux Troy. I mean, under normal circumstances, he should be embarrassed to do that. But he's doing it even as a criminal. And Castor shows up and meets his dope of a brother. He puts on sunglasses and takes some chiclets out of a lockbox. He's also got a gold dragon money clip. I mean, this guy's a douchebag. There's no other way to put it. And they get on the plane, and Castor says this.
Let's go, on board, let's go.
Well, that's a Nicolas Cage delivery if there ever was one. And it shows so much about this character. Like he can't have no action. He's got to have something going on at all times, otherwise he's bored. And he makes the flight attendant sit on his lap, and then he says this.
Would you like anything else once we're airborne?
Oh, Peach. Sit. Come here. You know, I can eat a peach for hours.
Oh, man. Okay, here we go. I mean, if you're eating a peach for hours, you're doing it wrong. I don't care if this is a real peach or a horrendous sexual innuendo. You're doing it wrong if it takes hours. And as if this comment wasn't cringy enough, he asks if she would be grateful if he let her suck his tongue. And then he just sticks his tongue out and just waits for her to go to town on it, which she does. I mean, I guess you can't say no to Castor Troy and expect to live, but come on, this is horrific. He just leans his head back, sticks his tongue out, and waits for her to treat his tongue like a fucking Tootsie Pop. It's absolutely psychotic behavior. Thankfully, Archer shows up with the authorities, and it turns out the flight attendant is an undercover FBI agent named Winters. So she could have pulled this gun out at any time, but decided to do it after the tongue fellatio. But unfortunately, there's a struggle, and Castor Troy takes her hostage. And while this is happening, Archer plays chicken with the plane on the runway. He's driving towards the plane as if the plane is capable of either swerving out of the way or stopping on a dime. I have no idea what he expects will happen here, but he eventually swerves off because he can somehow see Castor Troy holding a gun on Agent Winters. He sees this from like 50 yards away and decides to swerve. But if he didn't see that she was in trouble, what the hell was he going to do? Just drive his car into this plane? Apparently that was the plan. And Archer ends up getting in a helicopter. He chases down the plane and shoots the engines out. The plane never takes off. It crashes into a hangar. There's a shootout, a lot of slow motion Max Payne style gunplay. Pollux Troy gets apprehended, and Archer is tracking down Castor Troy. They have a standoff. Either one of them could pull the trigger right now and just win, but they don't. Eventually, the exhaust of a jet engine knocks Castor Troy into oblivion and slams him up against a metal gate. Pollux is apprehended, and Castor is apparently dead. Mission successful, despite the destruction of a plane, a hangar, and the deaths of about 15 FBI agents. Archer now heads home to his family. He's having trouble with his daughter Jamie because she's going through some kind of semi-goth phase, and this is apparently devastating to the family. Her dad, for some reason, thinks that makes her a real weirdo. And they have a fight. And after she storms off, Archer talks to his wife, Eve, and he tells her that he finally got Castor Troy, the man who killed their son. And he rubs his hand on her face in celebration. It's disgusting. And back at work, his subordinates give Archer a floppy disk, or not his subordinates, some secret FBI covert individual gives him a floppy disk that was found on Pollux Troy's briefcase. And it shows plans for a bomb that could destroy half of LA. And they obviously have no way of knowing where it is or when it will go off. And Pollux says he's not going to talk until he speaks with his brother. He obviously has no idea that his brother is not with us anymore. But it's revealed that Castor Troy is being secretly kept alive on life support by a group of super duper secret FBI people. And Archer wonders why they're keeping him alive. And this is when Dr. Malcolm Walsh is introduced. They tell Archer that they would like him to switch faces with Castor Troy and pose as him in prison in order to learn the location of the bomb from Pollux Troy. Yep, that's plan A. Dr. Walsh says they can alter his voice and body in order to make him seem more like Castor Troy. Absolute insanity. I mean, how about this? How about we put up a bunch of flyers with Castor Troy's face on it, put him on the news, ask if anyone has seen him around? Because we know for a fact that a whole church choir saw him shaking his asshole around in a priest costume in a very public place. One of them had this happen to her. I guarantee people will say they saw this guy here. And that's where you'll find the fucking bomb. Somehow, I'm a better detective than anybody in this fucking movie. And of course, they don't do that. Archer questions some of Troy's associates, Sasha Hassler and Dietrich Hassler, Troy's former girlfriend and her brother. He lays into Dietrich, and he doesn't know much, but he just knows that Castor Troy mentioned something about the 18th. So I guess they have a date, although we have no idea what date it is now, so I don't know how far out the 18th is, but apparently it's far enough out to go ahead with this insane undercover face-swapping plan. Archer finally agrees to it. He's not even allowed to tell his wife that this is happening. No one else will know about it except for Archer, Dr. Walsh, and two super secret FBI people. But he does talk to Eve, though, and he explains things in a very vague manner. He says that he has to go back to work for one last assignment, which, of course, breaks a promise he made to her that he'd be there for his family more. He apologizes, and you guessed it, he rubs her face with his hand again. I mean, enough already. This is grounds for divorce right here. So Archer heads in for this experimental surgery. He gets Castor Troy's face, and he apparently has some surgical alterations to his body to make him seem more like the genuine article. Nicolas Cage has a thinner frame than John Travolta. You know, how can you have a surgery to make your shoulders less broad or your waist a little thinner? Like, it doesn't make sense. And they say the height difference is negligible, but John Travolta is 2 inches taller than Nicolas Cage. I mean, that's definitely noticeable, but for the sake of this movie, I guess they're the same height. And Archer now sees himself as Castor Troy, and he freaks out a bit, as you probably would. I mean, he sees the man who killed his son when he looks in the mirror. That would mess anybody up. But it also has me wondering why Archer has even been allowed to pursue Castor Troy for all these years. I mean, don't they try to avoid personal vendettas when it comes to the law enforcement? I mean, this guy has just been on a taxpayer-funded revenge tour for the past 6 years. And he's clearly not mentally well enough to be doing this. But he's going to do it. They also give him some kind of device that can alter his voice to sound more like Troy. So they thought of everything. And he's all set to go. He has 2 days to get Pollux Troy to talk. So I guess we can assume the 18th is 2 days away. He arrives in prison, and it's like this super maximum security prison where everyone has these magnetic boots that keeps them on the ground. I mean, I don't know how any of this is possible, but okay. Archer gets thrown in general population. He makes his way towards Pollux, but some guy named Duboff starts a fight with him. And he does this because apparently Castor Troy slept with his wife and sister. And the guards just let this fight happen. And eventually Archer has to learn to embrace Castor Troy's craziness. And he makes some weird faces. And he says this. Yeah, that's it. Woo, like you're Ric Flair. It's all very convincing. And back at the super secret hospital, the real Castor Troy inexplicably wakes up, without his face, of course. He naturally wonders, hey, where's my face? But I'm wondering how he just woke up at all. He smashed into a wall of metal at Mach 5. He should have a broken neck. And it definitely seemed like he was on life support. Archer even says, why are they keeping him alive? But now he just wakes up. Despite not having a face, he's just fine. I don't get it. And he calls one of his buddies, the guy from Braveheart, and he sends him out to go kidnap Dr. Walsh. And how he knows who the doctor is that did this surgery, I have no idea. Maybe he was partially awake during the surgery. There are no limitations with this movie. Castor also smokes a cigarette with no face, and more importantly, no lips. What can I say? He's very talented. And basically, he forces this Walsh guy to put Archer's face on him and make him look more like Archer. He does it, and then then Troy, as Archer, somehow kills everyone who knew about this mission. So it's like 4 people, they're all dead. So now Troy can just take over Archer's life, while the real Archer rots in prison. And while that is happening, Archer does finally get the information out of Pollux. The bomb is at the LA Convention Center. So from his perspective, his mission is a total success, at least until he gets a visitor, which turns out to be Sean Archer. And of course, it's really Castor Troy. They talk in private. Troy, as Archer, tells Archer, as Troy, that he's killed everyone who knew about this project and he's just going to stay in jail. And he also gets Pollux released under the guise that he has flipped, turned state's evidence, whatever terminology you want to use. So the real Archer is in a pickle. And Castor talks to Pollux in private. It apparently wasn't all that difficult to convince him that he is indeed Castor Troy and not Sean Archer. Pollux finds the whole thing gross, and Castor says, well, think about how I feel. This nose, this hair, this ridiculous chin, which I think is a hilarious line, especially since it's Travolta talking about himself. But again, chin. The chin is more due to bone structure than the face. So they somehow made his jawbone bigger for this surgery. Honestly, this whole thing would make more sense if they had just switched brains. As crazy as that sounds, I would have fewer questions if they had just switched brains, Freaky Friday style. And Castor Troy tells Pollux that he wants to disarm the bomb. Pollux asks, what about our $10 million? Heavily implying that they are essentially terrorists for hire. And Troy basically says that They don't need $10 million because he'll be a national hero for disarming the bomb. And I guess that's true. But he won't be rich, so I don't really get why that's the plan. But I guess he does like the attention, and Pollux seems to go along with it, no questions asked. So he disarms the bomb with seconds to spare. Somehow this isn't suspicious. I mean, the bomb disposal unit was completely stymied by this thing, but somehow this FBI agent, with no background in the field of disabling bombs, just disabled the bomb without even breaking a sweat. Questionable, I think. And Troy, as Archer, is reveling in the hero worship. He becomes a celebrity. And he slaps some lady on the ass and he grunts. And all of this is very strange behavior, but no one says or does anything about it. And the real Archer is toiling in prison. He decides he has to escape. But the only way they'll ever take his magnetic boots off is if they take him in for electroshock therapy. So naturally, he starts a fight with a prison guard over a cigarette. He grabs the cigarette, and the guards beat him and drag him to have his brain fried. And the guy who just had his brain fried is Dubov, the same guy that started the fight with Archer when he first arrived. Which I don't get, because that fight happened at least 2 days ago, but Dubov is still here, and he's looking rough. But he's apparently semi-conscious enough, because Archer talks to him as they're taking off his metal boots and strapping him into this torture vise. He tells him that he didn't sleep with his wife and sister, and he asks him to help him get out of here. And this is all in full view of the guards and technicians. I mean, it's stunning. And one of them is played by Joe Bob Briggs. You might recognize him from Monster Vision and The Last Drive-In, where he's been hosting horror movies for years. He was also this guy in Casino. So that's nice. Always good to see him. And this plan somehow works. Archer no longer has brain damage. He no longer has a grudge against Castor Troy. So he just gets up and he attacks the guards, and they're off and running. There's a massive shootout. A prison riot starts somehow, and sadly, Dubov falls to his death in the escape attempt. But Archer makes it outside, and he is on some kind of oil rig in the middle of the ocean. A guy in a helicopter starts shooting at him, and he jumps off the top of the rig into the ocean. And apparently, that makes him undetectable. They cannot find him in the water. He might as well be a fucking bluefish. He's just gone. And while all this is going on, Castor Troy is not just posing as Sean Archer in his professional life, he's also doing so in his personal life. His wife, Eve, and his daughter have no idea that this is not Sean Archer. They think he's just acting a little weird. He has a date night with Eve, and you could tell it's a date night because there are 50,000 candles all over the goddamn place. And he has cooked lobster, some kind of pasta, it looks like, and a bunch of other shit that does not seem to go together. And eventually, this leads to Castor Troy going upstairs and sleeping with Eve. And she still can't tell that this is not her husband. I mean, Castor Troy is a man that we know likes to eat a peach for hours. Hours. That's not a red flag? Are we to believe that Castor Troy and Sean Archer have the same exact dick? Did they switch dicks? Is this dick off? I do not understand why they have made such a big deal about the face when their entire bodies have clearly been altered as well. It makes no sense. And to be fair, they make a point of saying that it has been months since Archer and Eve have had sex. So I guess Castor Troy is just hoping that Eve forgot what it was like to have sex with her real husband. Who knows? Moving on, finally. Castor Troy, or as we know him, Sean Archer, has been declared dead. The real Castor Troy shows up to work as Sean Archer, and of course, they tell him that Castor Troy has attempted to escape from prison and he died during the escape. But his body has not been recovered. I don't know how this is possible. This is the location where he fell. Just search around this area with these little waves and these bubbles. I guarantee you'll find him. But they don't. He has apparently made it all the way back to LA. He basically escaped from prison the same way John Mason escaped from Alcatraz in The Rock. He just swam until he hit land. It's a miracle. And he ends up stealing a car, and he tries to call Eve to warn her about this situation, but she doesn't believe it and hangs up. Why she wouldn't at least partially believe it, I don't know, because the man she thinks is her husband is clearly acting weird. So Archer goes to see Castor Troy's old buddies, Dietrich and Sasha. And Dietrich welcomes him with open arms, which is weird because he definitely knows that he has been apprehended. So he probably should suspect that Castor Troy has become an informant of some kind, but he never considers that. They sit and talk for a while, and Archer says that he's going to get Sean Archer. He says he's going to take his face off. And they repeat this line several times.
You want to take his face?
Yes. His face. Oh. The eyes. Nose. Skin. It's coming off.
The face.
Do you get it? That's the name of the movie. Oh, man. And then Sean, by the way, if it seems like he's acting nuts, it's because he's being played by Nicolas Cage. But it's also because he's done drugs with Dietrich. So he's a little off kilter right now. He excuses himself by saying that he has to, and I quote, go to the little boy's wee-wee room. I'm not making this up. These are actual words spoken in the movie. Nicolas Cage was paid millions of dollars to say these words. It's nuts. And as I said, he's on drugs, so that might explain it, but I'm not buying it. No drugs do that to a person. No drugs make you say those things. And he talks to Sasha in private. She introduces him to his son. Well, not his son. Castor Troy's son. And what does Sean Archer do? What do you think he does? You guessed it. The son of a bitch rubs this kid's face with his goddamn hand. What is going on? I'll tell you what, I'm rooting for Castor Troy. There, I said it. He's less weird. He is a less weird person to me. And so far, he is arguably a better father and husband. As this is happening, Jamie comes home with her boyfriend, and her boyfriend immediately tries to force himself on Jamie. And I suppose it's fitting that her boyfriend is played by convicted rapist Danny Masterson. So, obviously he's a method actor, but thankfully he'll be in jail for at least the next 30 years. And Castor Troy interrupts this assault. He beats the shit out of the boyfriend. I mean, the audacity of this scumbag to try this on the daughter of an FBI agent in his driveway, it's kind of nuts, don't you think? But he gets the shit kicked out of him, which is good. He goes inside with Jamie and smokes a cigarette with her, and he asks if she has protection. She thinks he's talking about condoms, but he means real protection. He gives her a fancy knife. and he tells her to stab a dude and twist the knife if something like this ever happens again. And in the meantime, Pollux has been spying on the real Sean Archer. He informs Castor Troy what's going on, and Castor uses his seemingly unlimited powers as an FBI dude to send in some kind of SWAT team. And the FBI is shooting this entire place up. They're taking no prisoners. What is going on here? They are literally trying to murder what they think is Castor Troy and everyone else in this building, including this child. It's wild. And Archer does his best to get Sasha and her son to safety. Castor Troy shows up and ends up shooting Dietrich in the neck. Dietrich then tells his sister Sasha to get out of there, and he kisses her on the mouth. What the fuck is happening? Did the movie forget that they're related? Is this a bad guy thing? I don't get it. And eventually, Archer and Troy have a confrontation through a wall that has a mirror on both sides of it. So when they look at it, they see their true enemy. Oh, so deep. And it's heavily implied that Castor Troy also wants his face back, which doesn't make any sense to me. He's a known criminal. Why does he want his face back? He's got a clean slate living as Sean Archer. Why does he want to be Castor Troy again? And if he wanted that, why did he kill the doctor who did the procedure? Who the fuck knows? And of course, they end up shooting through the mirrors. They both miss. All they get out of this is a combined 14 years of bad luck, so that's nice. And Archer makes it to the roof, and he kind of accidentally ends up killing Pollux Troy. He knocks him through a skylight, and he dies. So, obviously, Castor Troy is upset by this, and he shoots the guy who played Lewis in American Psycho. He somehow survived that movie, but not this one. Then again, I think everyone survived American Psycho because it's all kind of a delusion, but whatever. Back to this movie. Travolta makes love to his gun, as you do. And then he heads back to the office where his boss is really pissed off about the fact that a bunch of agents just shot up an apartment building. And Castor Troy doesn't like being yelled at, so he karate chops the shit out of his boss, and he kills him. And he somehow does this in his office with the blinds open, and yet no one sees what he just did. Not even professional stand-up comedian Margaret Cho noticed this murder. Tragic. And then Troy calls someone and tells them that the boss has had a heart attack. I guess he's just hoping that they will take his word for it and not notice that the guy clearly has a broken vertebrae. And in the meantime, Archer makes it home. He runs into Eve, who is naturally terrified because she thinks she's looking at the man who murdered her son. And instead of telling Eve something that only Sean would know, he starts explaining the whole situation. Like, about how they switched faces and how insane it is. I mean, he just looks like a ranting, raving lunatic, which is exactly what happens when you try to explain the plot of this movie. It's happening to me right now. And before he leaves, he tells her that he and Castor Troy have different blood types. Archer is O negative and Troy is AB. So their blood types may be different, but I think it's kind of funny that they're both pretty rare. Because why wouldn't they be? And Eve doesn't really believe this, but she also doesn't tell her fake husband about the encounter. So she at least kind of believes it. And she confirms it when she takes a sample of Troy's blood while he's asleep. How stabbing him with a needle doesn't wake him up, I'll never know, but it doesn't. She goes to the hospital. She's a doctor, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. That's kind of important. And she has the blood analyzed and sees that the blood type is AB, which means that this is not her husband. Archer then shows up, and she's still kind of afraid of him, but she does eventually accept that this is indeed her husband. Especially when, you guessed it, he rubs her fucking face with his filthy hands that he used to break out of prison and do drugs. Ugh. And she tells him that Troy will be attending the funeral for his boss. This is where the final showdown will take place. How exciting. And loads of people are here at this funeral. Troy and Eve are here, and Archer is sort of just hanging around. He's walking around outside. He's lighting candles in the church. He's dawdling, basically, is what's going on here. I mean, it seems kind of crazy that someone with Castor Troy's face is just walking around a funeral for one of the nation's top cops. I mean, no one seems to notice, though. So, I guess they're all distracted. Maybe they're distracted by the fucking doves that are all over this place. I know doves are a staple of Johnwoo movies, but why the hell are they just hanging out in this church while a funeral is going on? I was raised Catholic. I've been to a lot of wakes and funerals. I've never seen one fucking dove. Couple of pigeons, sure, but no doves. That's the Long Island version of this movie. Couple of guys outside Bagel Boss in an epic showdown amongst a flock of pigeons. Big box office for sure. In any case, Archer sends someone to give Troy a picture of Archer's son, which of course tells Troy that Archer is here. Why Archer would do this, I have no idea. It completely removes the element of surprise. And after everyone leaves, Archer stays behind, and Troy shows up, and he's speaking Latin, possibly Pig Latin. I have no way of knowing. There's a standoff. Troy takes Eve hostage. Sasha also shows up to help Archer, who she obviously thinks is Troy. No idea where she left her kid during this whole fiasco. Did she drop him off at daycare so she could go shoot up a chapel? Apparently. And of course, there ends up being a shootout. Eve hits some guy with a chair, Mick Foley style, and everyone ends up dead, except for Troy, Archer, and Eve. Tragic. R.I.P. Sasha. You were a shit mom. Your taste in men was absolutely horrendous. You kiss your brother on the mouth, and you were a sociopath, just like everyone else in this movie. I'd like to say you'll be missed, but you will not. And the gunfight starts up again, and Nicolas Cage inexplicably does this weird whip while he's... Whip? Am I okay? Am I going to be all right? Am I whipping out right now? What the fuck is going on? Maybe it's just some kind of neurological event that I'm experiencing right now, because Nicolas Cage does this flip where he just lands on his back and continues shooting. Seems totally pointless. Like, what did that accomplish? If anything, he just made himself dizzy, which might partially explain why he's missing every single shot. It also might have something to do with the fact that he's been dual wielding this entire movie, which I know is a John Woo thing. But in this movie, dual wielding was Castor Troy's thing. And this is Sean Archer. So why is he's even decided to mimic the way the guy shoots? I don't get it. Makes no sense to me. I've given up trying to figure it out. So moving on. And during all this mayhem, Archer runs into Jamie and accidentally knocks her down a flight of stairs. She goes tumbling down. Archer follows her, and he runs into Troy. They fight. Jamie picks up a gun and shoots Archer, who she obviously thinks is Castor Troy. But don't worry, he's fine. He's the main character. Troy ends up taking Jamie hostage and horrendously licks her face. We get it. You're the bad guy. You don't need to start licking faces. Then again, the good guy can't stop touching faces, so I honestly don't know who the hell to root for in this situation. Seriously, the face illusions in this movie are apocalyptic. It is an all-out assault on the senses. In any case, Jamie frees herself by stabbing Troy in the leg, just the way he showed her. How ironic. He then uses his mystical Scientology powers to close the wound so he doesn't bleed to death. Okay, I made that up. He actually seems quite injured. He's L. Ron hobbled right now. And then Archer pursues Troy in a boat chase. It's asinine. There are explosions for no reason. They end up crashing their boats and they go flying. This should kill them, but it doesn't. There's a final fight on the beach, and Archer has clearly won, but Troy begins cutting off his face, which, okay, isn't that kind of what we want? It's like, yes, continue. Give me my face back. That's what I wanted this whole time. But Archer stops the process by kicking Troy in the nuts and shooting him with a harpoon gun, killing him once and for all. There's so many wacky line deliveries in this movie that I'm not even fazed by the fact that he just screamed die like that. It means nothing to me at this point. When the police show up, they know that Archer is Archer. Eve called them and told them about the different blood types, and somehow they believed her with no questions asked. And they tell him that they are flying in their top surgical team from DC to reverse the procedure, which is crazy. So there are other doctors who know how to do this. This super secret, experimental, top secret surgery, any doctor can just do it, which is great. What a stroke of luck. So he has this surgery. I mean, it looks like it takes 5 minutes. It really is like an outpatient thing. A colonoscopy is more invasive than this fucking surgery, apparently. His family didn't even have time to go visit him in the hospital. He's just back to being John Travolta. And Eve and Jamie are happy to see him. Jamie is over her goth phase, so that's how you know that her character has learned something from these events. She no longer puts on eyeshadow in a way that makes her dad upset. She's all set for her sitcom debut. And of course, Archer rubs both of their faces. I hate him. He also brings Castor Troy's kid home. And they are just going to raise this child of two psychos like he's one of their own. No questions asked. And of course, Jamie rubs the kid's face with her hand. So now this is a thing that is being passed down from generation to generation. The hell with this family and their obtrusive face touching. I wish Castor Troy won. And that's the movie. Overall, it's a very hard movie to judge because it is absurd, it's pretty terrible, and yet at the same time, it's highly entertaining. And that's probably how you could sum up most of Nicolas Cage's career. Absurd, kind of terrible, but highly entertaining. And this kind of rounds out a 90s action movie trilogy for Nicolas Cage. He made The Rock, Con Air, and Face Off in quick succession. And this is easily my least favorite of those three movies. But Nicolas Cage and John Travolta were kind of the perfect actors for this movie because they know how to embrace the absurdity. And you will very quickly forget that these are two guys who were nominated for Oscars at one point. And originally, this movie was written with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone in mind. And to be honest, I wouldn't mind seeing that movie too. I mean, that would make even less sense. I mean, sure, they're both in great shape, but their bodies are nothing alike. That would make it so much more ridiculous. I mean, it really makes no sense how the face switching works. Yeah, they switch faces, but they also do this undetectable surgery that completely alters their body types and leaves no scarring whatsoever. I mean, how does this happen? Honestly, I think the movie would have been slightly more believable if they had just made it a full-on sci-fi movie set in the future. Like instead of 1997, make it 2037. Then I think this super advanced surgery would be more plausible. Because it's just hard to buy the idea of this kind of technology existing in a world where everyone is running around talking to each other on Motorola StarTACs. But, as I said, at the beginning. It's a movie that tries to be deeper than it needs to be. Like, we're supposed to look past the absurdity and see the true family man struggling to get his life back and just rubbing his hands on people's faces along the way. There's definitely some obnoxious things about the movie, but despite that, it is, as I said, very entertaining. And if it's been a while since you've seen it, I do recommend checking it out again. But that's about all I've got for now. So let me know what you think of Face Off. And until next time, take it easy.
His face. Oh. The eyes. Nose. Skin. Coming off.